Hello, friends. Welcome to the Logistics of Logistics podcast. My name is Joe Lynch. Thank you so much for joining us today. Today's topic is how Bloodhound is transforming cargo security and tracking with my friend Dan Hendrix. How's it going, Dan?
Good, Joe. Thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah, so Dan, please introduce yourself and your company and where you're calling from today.
Yeah, I'm Dan Hendrix. My company, Bloodhound Tracking Device, Inc., is out of Webster, Texas, but I'm calling you from sunny San Diego today.
Very nice. So it's Bloodhound Tracking Device?
That's right.
So we'll get more into what that actually is, but please tell us a little bit about Bloodhound Tracking Device. What is it, and what problems does it solve, and who does it solve those problems for?
Yeah, so we also shorten it by calling it BTD. Bloodhound Tracking Device is a GPS and tracking system that monitors all non-powered units, trailers, chassis, intermodal containers, things like that. And we are monitoring the inside environment of the container.
Ah, very nice. Well, it's funny. We've had this visibility revolution in our space. And for over-the-road trucks, a lot of times that there's a little bit of code that goes inside the ELD, or I just call it the telematics or the tech stack for drivers. So we've got that.
Yes.
But that's in the truck. I know other applications will track where the driver's phone is at, which is great too. There's all sorts of them, and it's gotten better and better and better. I know when we first started using them, it was like, a little intermittent. But the challenge still remains. We'll get into more of the challenges in a minute. But when we're talking about a device, it is you're selling actual sensors. And the problem I think you run into with a lot of visibility solutions is if I'm tracking the driver and he's not in the truck, it doesn't do me any good. And if the truck's not connected, if the tractor is not connected to the trailer, then it's no good. So when somebody says, oh, we're tracking the driver, you're like, good. Where's he at? Oh, he's here. Is he in the truck? We hope he's in the truck. Is the tractor attached to the trailer? We hope so. Is our stuff in that track or in that trailer? So there's a lot of yes, we hope. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's better than we've ever had. In the last 5 years have been absolutely revolutionary in our space. But for the stuff that is critical needs stuff, and that could be food, it could be pharma, it could be a lot of other stuff. You say, I just need to know where my stuff's at, and I can't take any flyers. I can't hope for the best. I have to know where my stuff's at.
That's right. And I think with our system, we're trying to solve that problem, trying to solve dead spots that are out there and handle latency and disruption better.
Yep. So Dan, tell us a little bit about you. Where'd you grow up? Where'd you go to school? Some career highlights before you joined Bloodhound Tracking Device, or BTD.
Yeah, so I grew up in a small town in Northern California called Valley Springs. Played sports my whole life, played basketball, football, and baseball. And so that kind of prepared me for the military. I joined the United States Coast Guard after high school. I did law enforcement for them for around 21 years. After I retired, I applied to USC, Business School of Marshall, and I was accepted there. And I completed a MBA there. And from there, I was accepted into another organization that helps special operation guys transition out of the military and find a job that really kind of speaks to their career and where they came from. And that's kind of how I came across Bloodhound. I was introduced to the CEO. We had an interview, and my background and his background were very closely aligned. And here I am as the director of business development.
I say it every once in a while on my podcast, but I might as well say it again today. Logistics more or less was invented by military people. I've watched these like all old dudes. I watch World War II stuff on TV, and it is constantly coming back to logistics. And you watch that war, unfortunately, in Russia and Ukraine, and it comes down to logistics. And so, mankind has always moved stuff, But the people who move stuff in big, big volume first was military people. And they're probably still the very best at it. And I still say this also is if you're a military logistics guy, you are supporting people who are moving and who are being shot at. And you're being shot at. And getting the guns or the bullets or the food there a day late, that's life and death. For us, it's as consumers, it's like, oh, it was really inconvenient. My Haagen-Dazs ice cream wasn't there today.
That's interesting that you said that, because that was one of the jobs that I did in the Coast Guard. I monitored basically Army equipment for the warfighters. So we'd sit out at basically a pier here in San Diego and watch a boat unload tanks and vehicles and things like that.
They need Haagen-Dazs over there too.
They do. They absolutely do. Keeps everybody happy.
Yeah, they're at least burning it off. Before we hit the record button, we talked yesterday for a little bit, and we're talking today. And before we hit record, we were talking about just some of the, again, the tremendous progress we've made in visibility. There's all sorts of companies out there, and I think most of them end up partnering at some point. But we all know Project 44 and MacroPoint, and they just keep growing and growing and growing, which is great. And some of them, a lot of them are using data from sensors. And so I went to the Trimble conference not so long ago. And what I thought was interesting about being at the Trimble conference, Trimble makes technology for trucks, the tech stack for drivers. And what was interesting is all the people who are there, it's like, this is where visibility actually comes from. It comes from these sensors. And we don't always talk about them. I know and anybody who's a visibility solution wants to partner with all the guys who actually have the sensors, because that's what we need. The ELD was great because you're able to put a tracker in all those ELDs, which is the tech stack for drivers. But there's a ton of stuff being moved around I think drayage doesn't particularly need an ELD. But if you're in a port, you're not attached to an ELD. If you're on a boat, you're not connected to ELD. So we need more than just those type of solutions. And that's why we need sensors like yours. And so I want to talk about some of the challenges that we still have in tracking and the visibility. So the first one I want to talk about is the dead spots. Please talk about the dead spots, Dan.
Yeah, the dead spots. So that's a big issue for tracking. And we are lucky enough to have one of our co-founders come from NASA. He was a communications engineer, and he helped bring our communication suite to what it is now. We are triple redundant. We use LTE, SATCOM, and LoRaWAN, and we can talk to each other through a mesh network.
I don't know what all those are, but it sounds as if it's more reliable, and that's all I care about.
Yeah, and that's all I was trying to point out is very reliable. We handle latency and disruption better than any other tracker or tracer on the market right now.
Yeah. I don't know the name of the company, just that's off the top of my head, but I thought was interesting is Elon Musk has that internet satellite. What is that called? TrueLink. Starlink. Yeah. Yep. And it occurs to me that when we have emergencies around the world, like we always will, whether it's a climate thing or whether it's a war, it's nice to know that we can quickly get, and I'm not saying I'm not getting paid by Starlink. I'm sure there's others that are going to be just like it. And it's exactly what we need. And because we are all unable to live without the internet right now. Even a 15-minute disconnection is traumatic and anxiety producing.
That's right. That's why we all have our phones in our hands.
Right. Yeah. By the way, I go to the gym, not as much as I should, but when I'm at the gym, it's amazing how many people are sitting on a machine looking at their phone.
Yep. Taking an extended break.
Yeah. We need one of those high school coaches to run in and starts calling you names and hitting you. So dead spots are the first problem. Another problem I want to talk to you about is real-time visibility. which real-time visibility typically isn't real time. And that goes back for a long time. 15 years ago, I worked at a company and we had like EDI updates, and we would say, we give you real-time visibility. I was thinking, more or less, give or take an hour. Well, that's not real time. And if we're trying to get more and more exacting. So how do we get better at the real-time visibility?
I think that has to do with our communication suite. I think the real-time visibility has to do with our ability to communicate effectively and how fast we can communicate. And I think our communication suite is basically bridging that gap with the system that Jason brought over to us.
Yeah, and Jason's one of the founders?
He is, yep. He was at NASA for around 30 years, where he was a communications engineer.
So you guys are kind of coming at it from a different direction on this, where you're using satellites. And if something's on the ocean, satellite's better than most of the stuff we're using without the satellites, of course.
Yeah, I think we are coming at it at a better angle because of the team that our CEO, Curtis Spencer, put together. He is coming from trading things as well, so FTZs, foreign trade zones. So that's what he specialized in. And then Jason obviously was a communications expert for NASA. And then they brought in myself as the business development guy for BTD, which, my background was containers and securing containers for the Coast Guard.
Yeah. And one of the other challenges, and we talked a little bit about this yesterday, is location isn't enough. We were so delighted to get GPS not so long ago. It was like, oh my God, I know where my truck's at. And we could see it on a map. It was beautiful. I mean, it was just such a important upgrade. But now that we know it's possible, people are like, what else can you give me? So and then I think the bar is rising. People listen to podcasts like mine and go, wait a sec, if I can have some other goodies, I want those. So talk about some of the other, I think there are expectations now that shippers and receivers have.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're bringing to the table a lot of things in our device. I think, with a door breach or door open, we will alert the user, but also if the container or trailer is breached in any way, so if a hole's cut in the side, we will take a picture. We'll alert the user. So our sensor suite is top notch.
Yep. So people want GPS, obviously. I want to know where it's at, first and foremost. But I need to know that it's the right temperature. I need to know that it is the right humidity. I obviously need to know if somebody opens and closes the trailer door. I especially need to know if somebody cuts into the side of the trailer.
That's right, because they do. Or take the doors off or whatever they...
Yeah. They're very inventive. And when we talk about some of the stuff that's being shipped, and you're from a military background, obviously anything related to the military is at high risk that somebody's trying to get after it. Somebody who wants to contaminate food, that's obviously something that concerns us. We haven't had it here in forever, but every once in a while when somebody says, oh, this product is contaminated, don't eat it. You go, oh, okay. You usually don't lose sleep over it because people aren't dying usually. It's just like, oh, don't eat that spinach, whatever it is. And it's a week or two. But if we got to a place where our food supply chain wasn't trusted, that's so damaging. I mean, people aren't getting nutrition, but stores are going out of business, and the whole world just slows down really fast if you can't trust the pharma supply chain, the food supply chain. Obviously, anybody's supply chain is critical when it doesn't happen. So if you're an automaker, you stop making cars, people stop having jobs. Soon people stop having cars. And we learned during COVID how fragile some of our supply chains were. We did pretty well. It's probably the first pandemic in history where people got fat, myself included. Somebody called it the COVID-19 or 20. But we now expect that we're going to have something more than just GPS. And you can't always get more than GPS unless you have an actual sensor. And that's the reality of it. And so you might get it from one of these other systems, but it's being pulled from a system like Bloodhound Tracking.
That's right. So we actually have two units. One goes on the outside, one goes on the inside. The outside unit is covert. We patent that look, so it matches the trailer or the container, painted the same way, looks like a vent. It's a long battery life. It's a non-destructive install. And then we also have an inside unit, and that's where all our sensors are. We can monitor the inside environment of the container. So we can help that food chain. We can help the cold chain. We can help anything that you want to see in your environment in that container, especially with the security things that are coming up with the border.
Oh, yeah. We have obviously cybersecurity problems, but we've had freight fraud where trailers are disappearing. Trucks are and I think we've got a lot of excellent solutions that are coming. But what we do know is the thieves and the bad guys, they iterate also, and they get better and better. And I went to the cybersecurity conference in Cleveland. Thank you, NMFTA. And a guy from the White House spoke about cybersecurity, and he said most of it's related to the People's Republic, China. I was going to say, I forgot, PRC. And I'm sure other countries do it too, and I'm sure the United States probably does it, but they're trying to hack into supply chains. And if a country wants to ruin our lives real quickly, just have these supply chains shut down. So we need to do a better job. But we also, in this industry, have had trucks get stolen. And if you can track a trailer rather than just the tractor, that is going to be very helpful. So if I say, hey, look, I know exactly where my trailer's at. Better yet, I know exactly where my container's at, my stuff is at. So that's becoming important.
Yep, that's a great point, because if they were to grab the trailer and put it in a storage location and unload it from there, as soon as the trailer sees the sky, it's going to report on everything that happened to that trailer.
Right. And so, who's the ideal customer for you guys? Is the guys who actually own the box, the container, or the trailer?
So it could be the owner of the box. It could also be a leaser, a freight forwarder, e-commerce like Walmart, Trader Joe's, somebody that is moving product that says, hey, we want to monitor our product. Can we put these in our trailers or containers?
So the shipping companies own some number of trailers, right? Containers, I'm sorry. So they own these containers. Some of them are going to have cold chain capability. And I guess if their customers say, I need the sensor in there, they'll put it in there. They charge a little extra, but they'll put it in there.
Yep. So really, we're looking at anybody who's manages that, has the ownership of that container, the truck, the trailer, the dry van, has an interest in the cargo.
But I think also, if you're a very large shipper and you don't own your own containers, if you're leasing them or if you're working with a shipping company, I'm sure if you ask, they will get you the sensors you want as long as you're willing to pay a little extra for it. But I think, given what's gone on in the last decade, we all have just way higher expectations. And I think there's more of, there's a war in the Middle East. There's a war in Europe. I think there's heightened awareness of our own security. And I would not be surprised if, I won't say necessarily Fed regs, but it could be. But I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of shippers started saying, I want more and I'm willing to pay for it. And, within reason. And I think for sure anything that's pharma or military related or food related, that seems to me like a no-brainer. And I'm sure I missed some industries there.
Electronics are the number one stolen cargo item from the U.S. right now. So, that's goes a long way. Those are high value commodities.
Yeah, I'm sorry to the gamers. I did not mean to imply that gaming systems were not more important than pharma and food, because I guarantee there's people listening and say, oh no, you could take my pharma and my food away.
Yeah.
I need my Xbox.
That's right.
I need my new mobile
Where's
phone.
Where's these electronics?
Yeah, well, we're all addicted to this stuff. We need it. And so the facility, the security is upgrading everywhere, but I think one of the places we can secure is the actual container. So if it does get taken, and then it's not easy to observe the sensor in there, which is good because you don't want the bad guys to see it.
That's right. So yeah, like I was saying, that it's non-destructive. We use very powerful magnets to stick to the container, and if it doesn't have that ability, we have a proprietary tape that we use.
Yep. And you guys specialize in the non-powered units. So that is going to be the trailer, the container,
and the
chassis. And so if it's on a train going across the country, I can see it?
That's right. Yeah. So that's actually one of we really would like to target the railroads because of the cargo theft that's going on with them right now.
That is crazy. I've not heard it from the railroad people. I've heard it watching viral videos. People jumping onto these trains and like robbing them blind. Like I saw somebody stealing Harleys off of a train and you're like, what the hell?
Yeah. Yeah. So basically cargo theft in the California area between Long Beach and San Bernardino area is really on a rise. And that's just because of so much commodities or shipments that are going through there.
Yeah, that's crazy. Well, what's interesting is what we've always learned about the thieves is they will always iterate. So I'm an automotive guy originally. We used to have people easily steal cars. They just get their shiv, they just go in. You see it on the old TV shows where somebody goes and steals a car in like 2 minutes. And you just hotwire it. I mean, I never could do that, but I've seen people do it. They made it look so easy. Well, you don't see that anymore because the cars don't allow for that. And so what replaced it? Carjacking. And let's face it, most of us would rather our car be stolen out of a parking lot without our participation than be carjacked. And so what we've done is we've upgraded security everywhere in our facilities. But now you have that long 1,000-mile ride on the train, and that's at risk. And anytime a truck is parked, whether it's at a truck stop or a yard, it's at risk. And we have to address that risk. And no doubt the thieves will go to the next easiest breach, but we have to upgrade.
Yeah, we do. Yes, and it has to be on all systems: railroad, shipping, trucking.
Yep. And so you're selling. Ideally, it's the people who actually own the box says, Dan, I heard and I want this for some number of our boxes. But also it could be a big shipper who says we lease them from somebody, but we'll ask for these.
Some of the customers, like e-commerce, Amazon, Walmart, and then the shippers, JB Hunt, APL, those big types of shippers. And then we also, if somebody was leasing a large amount of containers, we'd be interested in them as well.
Yep. And I know this is a logistics podcast, but I know people are listening are also concerned with some other issues, and it's drugs and smuggling of humans. So talk about that.
Yeah, and I think that's where my background fits in perfectly. When I was in the Coast Guard, we used to have to go pop containers, and we'd select them randomly and just make sure there was no contraband or humans in there. And I think, this device would alleviate a lot of man hours like that, because if you were to breach the container, it's going to take a picture of you. And in Q4 of 2025, we'll have a fentanyl detection sensor in our equipment.
Hundreds of thousands of people died of that, right?
That's right. Yep. I had dealt with it in my career. I've had friends deal with it. It's a nasty thing, and we need to, we have to combat it.
I was watching some video online, and it was talking about how you could move an army in shipping containers, and you could move obviously weapons, bombs, all sorts of stuff within shipping containers. So it's truly a security issue when you say there could be people coming here illegally, armies coming here illegally, terrorists, bombs. We have responsibility beyond just getting our stuff there on time and in full. We also have the responsibility not to be a bad citizen of the world.
Sure. Yeah. And I think, with just Bloodhound being in more containers out there, this is going to help just eliminate some of those issues because we can monitor the inside environment. We can tell if people are in there. We can tell if there's narcotics in there. These are the important things that just go along with logistics inherently. So if you're doing supplies and logistics, those are the problems you're going to run into. And if you can alleviate those easily, you should.
We as the business community are being told, don't sell to these people right now. So you can't sell stuff to Russia. You can't sell stuff to Iran. Certain stuff is prohibited to sell to certain countries. We're all being told that. It's a higher bar for everybody. And it's difficult because there's always somebody buying on their behalf, right? But we're also being told, don't work with certain parts of the world. Don't take products in a region that there might be slaves. We all know we're being asked to do that. You could say that's not a business's responsibility, but we're being asked to do it. I would not be surprised at all as the price of this technology, well, as you sell more and the cost goes down, that before long they're going to say, hey, every shipping container should be able to tell me, is there drugs in here? Are there people in here? Is there ammunition in here? And also be able to show me the security from the time it got loaded to the time it got unloaded.
That's right. I think as a society, we want that as well. We always wanted to monitor anything. We're all about technology, and I think that's just on the forefront. Look at TVs; they've dropped in price dramatically, and now they're all smart. Nobody had a smart TV before, and that's what we're trying to do with containers. We want to make a smart container everybody can look into.
We've also we all kind of gotten spoiled with stuff where we go, I have a smart refrigerator. By the way, I do not. All I would ever want, I got a smart refrigerator. I would just say, don't let me in after 8:00. No matter what I say.
That's a good rule.
I'm a liar. Don't let me in. I want to talk about some of the things that makes this different and better than, and again, I think when we're talking about visibility, there's just a lot of different ways to get at it. But I think when we talk about visibility at its base, there is an IoT sensor somewhere, Internet of Things, or Internet of Trucking, as I like to call it. So there is an IoT sensor at the beginning of all visibility, and you guys are actually selling some of that visibility. And I think the challenge we have as an industry, supply chain industry, is the dead spots for one. And again, if I'm tracking where the driver is or where the ELD is at or where the tractor is at, I'm not always tracking where my stuff is at. Even if there's going to be a time where you say, yeah, my stuff is driving down the road. You're like, no, your stuff is in a container still at the warehouse. They said they loaded it. They didn't. That's the kind of stuff we need to know for the most important freight. And again, I think increasingly it's going to be all freight.
That problem right there is that brings a lot more money back to the company. So if a trucking company or a shipping company is looking to increase their ROI, we can help manage that as well. I know you're monitoring your driver, but we'll help monitor the cargo.
Yep. I also believe that we have all these systems, and we want to use AI to take our data and help us make better decisions in the future, right? Make decisions for us in the future. The challenge I think we have is the data we have is dirty. And one of the reasons it's dirty is because humans put it in there. So if I say, yeah, Dan, your stuff got here at 11:55, so it made it on time. Well, it made it there at 12:05. IoT will not, Internet of Things won't lie. I might, because I don't want to be in trouble with the boss. So I think we're going to get to a point where you say, all of the data we have in our system that we're using for AI is all from a sensor, Internet of Things. There's nothing in there that's subjective. It is all verified data. Now we're going to use AI. So using data that is, one of the challenges with AI is the data is not clean yet. And I'm not so sure it'll ever be clean as long as humans can get their grubby mitts on it.
Yeah, because we're always looking out for self-preservation.
there's always incomplete transactions and all that. And that is the nature of the way we work. But anyway, getting back to it, the things that you think make this different and better. The first thing is the technology, the communication suite. Talk about a few of the other things that you think makes this product different and better from others.
Sure. The communication suite I was talking about, the most important fact about that is it handles latency and disruption. And the ability to do that right now is very important because latency and disruption is what causes the delay in the real-time visibility. So with Jason coming over to the team, I think we've addressed that problem and we're moving forward with that. And I think we're the lead company in the industry on that.
I love it. I love it. So also, again, all the stuff like the temperature control, the humidity, that stuff is kind of now for sensors like that. So that's table stakes. But I think open door, closed door, geofencing.
So the ability to take a photographic picture of a door breach is just so groundbreaking because of we were just talking about the railways and how they are being.
They're the weak link in some regards.
They're the weak link. They're being targeted.
It's hard to. There's a 3,000-mile vector sometimes, right?
That's right, and there's a lot of dead spots there. And I think when somebody's looking at the railway, they can see what containers where, Amazon, JB Hunt, and they can do some research on that. And I think with our abilities, we can really secure that supply chain a little more.
I love it. I love it. So I am going to summarize what we talked about. Then I'm going to get your final thoughts on the topic. So I'm talking to my friend Dan Hendrix, and I'm talking to him about Bloodhound and how it's transforming cargo security and tracking. And so we still have challenges with visibility, and those visibility is like the dead spots. And there are dead spots around the world. There's dead spots in the United States, but especially as soon as you go out to sea or down into Mexico's a huge country. Canada's a huge country. Being able to track in areas that are remote. We have remote areas here, like the whole middle of the country is half empty. And so we have those dead spots, and we're looking for real-time visibility, but our real-time visibility is typically not real-time anymore. It's never been real-time. We call it that. But with this kind of sensor, you can have it because your communication suite is different. And again, we're all looking for more safety of all the facilities we have. We're being asked by our customers, but I think we're going to increasingly be asked by the government too. And you sell this to the box owner, the guy who owns the container, the guy who owns the trailer. But increasingly, there's people leasing that kind of stuff. So that might be the shipper might ask for it, and the box company, the trailer or the container company might say, "Yeah, we'll get it for you for a little extra money." You guys do non-powered, and again, that's significant because it could be all those trailers you see sitting in the yard. We didn't talk about it too much, but I know you can help with the trailer utilization. Anybody who owns trailers, anyone who owns containers wants to make sure they're moving and not sitting in the parking lot.
Yeah, and that's a good point, the non-powered, because when they do get left at the ports or the yards, the driver's gone and the ELD really doesn't matter at that point. So we're really, we want to help the companies out and the organizations that are going to lose money if they don't know where their products are.
Yep. And what you guys makes your solution different and better is again the communication capacities through that very advanced satellite system.
Yeah, communication.
We're trying to get away from the miscommunication and from the disruptions, the dead spots. And anyway, put a big old bow on this one, Dan. Final thoughts on the topic.
Yeah, I think you kind of hit it on the head there. I think we're bringing in a lot of visibility because of our communications system. We also have a battery life of 3+ years. We are doing all maintenance when you're a customer of ours. That's included in the subscription price. And we're here to bring visibility to the supply chain, and we want to help shippers and e-commerce with their ROI and help save money and time in the industry.
I like it. I like it. So what conferences will we see you and the fine folks from BTD at?
Yeah, you will see me at Manifest this year, and I hope to see you there as well.
I will be there.
Awesome. And then we will also be at TPM. We have a booth outside. We're very branded on that booth, so stop by. We'll give you some stuff, and let's talk.
Excellent, excellent. Well, Dan, thank you so much for taking the time.
Absolutely, Joe. I appreciate you having me today.
Yep. And thank all of you for listening to my podcast. Your support's very much appreciated. Until next time, onward and upward. You have been listening to the Logistics of Logistics podcast, where we engage with leaders in the logistics and supply chain community. If you like what you hear, please subscribe, hit the like button, and leave us a nice review on Apple or Spotify or wherever else you listen. Also, please check out our videos on YouTube and connect with us on LinkedIn. We're very big on LinkedIn. And you can also reach us on the logisticsoflogistics.com, our website.